Oh, listen, you're getting deep into the old school stuff, and not just old school stuff only a diehard would really know. And I'll tell you what, I mean, sometimes I regret missing some of my boxing or not remembering it. But it's because, MMA came in and MMA became my fascination. I was a martial artist first, wrestling, karate, whatnot, which is all, of course, part of MMA. Not that boxing isn't. But I think it took me away from the sport a little bit. And I think we have to talk about what's going on in the sport today. And that is, of course, influencer boxing. And they just announced Jake Paul, all 6'1", 200 pounds of him, is going to face 5'5" Gervonta Davis. What do I think about it? Well, guys, let me say this. Boxing was the only sport structured so there was no regulation as to how you made the pros. Now, in fairness, I've had friends that said like Yogi Berra's son would have never been in the big leagues if it wasn't for who his father was, and I've heard a lot of that, out there, and I'm sure that's true, right? We know how unfair life is, and how people gain favoritism in corporate America and elsewhere, and it just is a little bit ridiculous. And Jake Paul is kind of paving his own path, right? I mean, I think very few people know that people go pro all the time in fight games, right? Whether it's MMA, whether it's boxing, and they're not necessarily ready for it, and they get knocked out or whatever. Jake Paul took his time, he did it right, fought guys on his level until he could fight guys that he was either a lot younger than or a lot more, a lot heavier than, or what have you. Now, Gervonta is a little different. Gervonta is definitely in his prime, if you will. If you could say Gervonta Davis ever really had a prime, he didn't really fight anybody that was truly, truly dangerous in their prime. I mean, I guess Ryan Garcia, and we've seen where that's gone with his loss to Rolly. But what do I think about this fight? I think, guys, at the end of the day, we're in prize fighting. And it doesn't matter how you do it. The structure of boxing is what allowed Jake Paul to create himself in the sport, right? There was no minor leagues he had to go through. Well, I mean, I guess there technically was. It's his choice of who he's going to fight. So he's done it in a fair way. I mean, listen, they protect guys all the time. I mean, Julio Cesar Chavez was protected through 40-plus fights until they finally got him a couple. They got Sergio Martinez stripped to get him a title shot. So, you can't pick on Jake Paul and not look at the sport as a whole as to what it is. Now, none of that is necessarily bad, guys, because that is giving everybody an opportunity to succeed. And that is indeed what we love about boxing. I've talked about this. It's the Rocky story. Look, Rocky was hopelessly outmatched and outgunned against Apollo Creed. That was the whole idea. It was Chuck Wepner versus Muhammad Ali in real life, right? But you can dig deep within yourself, the idea being, and pull off a miracle on the night of the fight. And I think that's what we all go through in life, right? We're all fighting this tremendously difficult battle that God placed us here to go through. And on one night we can get in there and we can change everything. We can be the creators of our own destiny, and that is what appeals so viscerally to boxing. To say nothing of the atavistic instinct of fighting and caveman and you beat you with a club. I mean, I know that's a part of it, but more than that, it's excelling, right, when all the odds are against you. What was Rocky Balboa? He was a low-level mob loan shark enforcer, right? And that was like, and then the greatest part about that is, we venerate the mob. We make the mob look really cool. And when the truth of the matter is, the mob looks a lot more like Rocky Balboa's life in Rocky 1 before he had that fight with Apollo Creed. A miserable existence that was horrible, preying on the worst in humanity. And boxing allowed him to climb out of that. And that's what it's about. And listen, I know Jake Paul had things going on before, but guess what? There will be people with nothing that crawl out of those depths because of what Jake Paul did in boxing, I guarantee you. I know he had more time to train. I know he had the money. I know he could hire everybody. But I am a fan of Jake Paul. Now, what's going to happen in the Gervonta Davis fight? I have no idea. I mean, it's a really, really weird fight. I will tell you this, as a heavier guy, I spar with a flyweight right now. Guys, they are so fast. But at the same time, they're in both in their primes, if you will, and Jake is very powerful, and that's the difference, right? Like, will Gervonta be able to handle Jake's power? And I just don't know that. I'm getting so old, I don't really have that kind of power to bother the flyweights anymore. Everybody, like and subscribe to my channel for more on the fight.